sing that with me if you want. Just a centering. Yada, 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 yada. Just continue to be quiet. Get out of your way. A call to worship. If I don't break the house down here. Modani lefanecha ruach chai v'kayam. We're so thankful that we woke up this morning, because it was not guaranteed when we went to bed. And so we come together in a moment of reflection. In Hebrew, the word for prayer is the form of a verb that is called a reflexive verb, the hitpalel. It's meant to cause some kind of a change in yourself.
Please join me in the words of our chalice lighting, which will be displayed up here in either English or Spanish. We kindle this flame to remind ourselves of the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Society of Burlington. My name is Dan York. I'm a member of the Worship Associates. My pronouns are he, him. It's great to see you all here, and also great to see the people who are watching us on our live stream or on our recording, wherever you may be in the world and whatever you're there. Unitarian Universalists come from many different traditions, backgrounds, countries, and genders. We share the values of love, justice, and respect, and care for the environment and care for each other. May today you experience connection and compassion and a feeling of coming home. Do we have any visitors or people who've been here for the first or second time? Would you care to raise your hand? Greetings, welcome, thank you, great to see you.
Nice, yeah.
If you're interested in learning a bit more about our congregation, we do have two welcome ambassadors who are Susan Warner-Mills and Marilyn Brill, who are right there. And you're welcome to go and say hello to them if you'd like to afterwards, or to any of us. You're also welcome. There's a card in the pews that you're welcome to go and fill that out and leave in an offering basket as we have them a little bit later. So a couple of other different logistical things. This is a summer service. We don't have an order of service available, but throughout the session, you'll see things being projected up there that you'll be able to go and see. There is unfortunately, no nursery care available on this particular service. But if there are some materials up here for little ones or older ones who want something to work with there, so you can get them at the front or the back, and they're there. There will be a coffee hour after church. It will be directly back through those doors and on there. We want to thank Bob Furr for the flowers that you see around here. And also, we are live streaming. If anybody does not want to be on camera, we do have a camera-free zone in the back 7 rows or so of that side over there. Otherwise, you are being streamed right now. Next Sunday, August 4th, we will be switching to having services outside in front of the church, weather permitting. Our senior minister, Reverend Karen Johnson, will be kicking that off with the month off, speaking on the theme of choose your own adventure in these perilous times. Please join us outside. Chairs will be available. You also, can bring your lawn chair. If you were just at some of those concerts on the waterfront, maybe you have a chair available that you want to bring. Probably not that size crowd, but we can hope, something on that line. Today we have a special treat, as you've probably already noticed. Our speaker is Rabbi Jan Salzman. She was ordained in 2010 by Aleph, the Alliance for Jewish Renewal. In 2016, she created Ruach HaMakom, the first Jewish renewal congregation in Vermont. Previously, she served as the assistant rabbi and cantor for 6 years at Ohavi Zedek Synagogue in Burlington. She was blessed to have been a student of Reb Zalman. Rabbi Jan is past president of OHALA, an international professional association of renewal rabbis, cantors, and rabbinic pastors. She's on the board of Living Tree Alliance, located in Morristown, Vermont. She has lived in Vermont for over 35 years, is married to her Rebbitzman, Laredo Sala, and has 2 grown children and 2 grandchildren. I think you'll have a delightful experience in this service today, and thank you again. Welcome. It's good to have you here to worship together.
Thank you.
And with that,
good morning. Good morning. Ooh, yeah. So I turned 70 years old 2 years ago, and I'm so aware of becoming an elder, right? It's not being old, it's becoming an elder. And in most traditional societies, the elder are the people who are revered because we've lived a long time and we may not be right about everything, but we have wisdom and we have deep insight, at least to the flow of how life can unfold. And so the chant that we're going to sing this morning, to begin with, we are the change. This chant actually comes, I think, from a UU camp. I'm actually not sure where this comes from, but it states clearly that the children are the future and we are the ancestors. And in that interplay of communication, there is an opportunity for doing things better the next time around. We'll sing it through twice. We are the change, we are the rising sun. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are the dawning, then us elders. We are the change, we are the setting sun. We are the ancestors of tomorrow, and we remember again. We are the change. We are the rising sun. We are the ones we've been waiting for, and we are the dawning. We are the change. We are the setting sun. We are the ancestors of tomorrow, and we remember. Let's do it again. We are the change. We are the rising sun. We are the one that we've been waiting for, and we are the dawning. We are the change. We are the setting sun. We are the ancestors of tomorrow, and we remember. For a reflection, I offer you this, first in Hebrew. Vayomer Elohim na'aseh Adam b'tzalmenu, kidmatenu vayirdu v'idrat hayam, uva'of hashamayim, uv'behema, uv'chol ha'aretz, uv'chol ha'remes ha'romes al ha'aretz. Vayavar Elohim et ha'adam b'tzalmo. B'tselem Elohim bara oto, zachar v'nekeva, bara otam. And God said, let us make ha'adam. So the word Adam, Adam, means earth, right? Adama is earth. So let us make an earth being in our image, after our likeness. Of course, you have to wonder who God's talking to. That's a question that's answered by the Midrash, and the angels were created first, and then God had somebody to plan with. Okay. There's all these obscure things in Torah, there's no answer. They shall rule, all right, so let us make Ha'adam, the earth being, in our image, after our likeness. They shall rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the cattle, the whole earth, and all the creeping things that creep on the earth. And Havaya, another name for God, created earth being in God's image. In the image of Havaya, Havaya created Ha'adam, male and female. God created them. So the question is, why did God create human beings? Wasn't God already full, didn't need anything else, right? So our ancestors teach us that God was lonely. God didn't have anybody to play with. But even more importantly, God did not have anybody to co-create with. God, the desire for an other is how come we're here. Without humans with whom to play and work, none of this would work. And so we are made, according to Torah, in the image of the Holy One, whether you believe in God or not, the image out of all of the possibilities of the cosmos. We are here. And through that, let there be a human. We learn the power of words. Let us make happens over and over and over again in the 6 days of creation. In fact, the word vayomer, and he said, occurs 32 times in the first chapter of the Bible. 32. The number of teeth in your mouth. The numerology of the word for love and heart, for heart, lamed, and also 32, the first letter and the last letter of the entire scroll. So lots going on there, and there is our moment of reflection.
We now enter into our part of the service that involves spiritual practices and generosity. They come in many forms within our service. Generosity, spoken meditation, stillness, music, creativity. In this portion of our service, each of us will have a chance to enter into these practices. As a justice-seeking community, our generosity practice includes sharing half of the offering each Sunday. This month, they'll be shared with the First Unitarian Universal Society of Burlington Music Sheet Fund. In anticipation of our next musical chapter, this month's generosity will add to the fund that covers the cost of new music for our choir and other music programming. Since there's no annual budget line item for this, now's a good time to replenish this long-existing fund as a way for the congregation to welcome our new director of music. Go ahead. There's a prayer.
Okay. L'shem yichud kutcha b'richu u'shchinte, Bechila urimu lachadye shem yudhe vavavhe, Bechida shalim sheshem kol Yisrael. For the unification of the balance of masculine and feminine, to bring in divine presence in reverence and love, to unify all that is shattered in perfect unity in the name of all who wrestle.
When the music starts in a moment, you are invited to come forward and silently mark a joy, sorrow, a moment in your life, gratitude, by moving a stone from the basket here onto this table. Together we will make a mosaic of our views of this world today. Please come down the side aisles, move the stones as you would, and then go back through the center aisle, return there. Also, in coming forward, if anyone has a gift for the offering, you can leave them in the baskets that are on either side. With that, we'll go ahead.
What better than the ice cream truck? Oh my God, thank you, God.
Let us bring our spiritual practice to a close with this unison message that will be displayed up here. With gratitude, we dedicate these gifts in the service of our mission to inspire spiritual growth, care for each other in our community, seek truth, and act for justice.
Next slide, please, with the next hymn. Yeah? There you go. We'll open with this. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. Let's sing it again. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. We chant that at the beginning of Yom Kippur, about which I'll speak in just a moment. At the inclination for all of us is to feel that sense of renewal, feel the sense that there is great material with which to work within us. Judaism has no concept of perfection and also has no concept of sin. There is no word for sin in the Hebrew language. It's only when it got translated into Greek that we had the word sin. Because the word that is used, translated as the word sin, is al-chet, and it means I aim my arrow over there, but it went there. Yeah? That's what it actually means. And so the whole process of teshuvah, of returning to our pure soul, our true soul, not pure, our true soul, is bringing that aim back straight ahead so that we can try again. And in a couple of weeks, the whole much of the Jewish world begins to engage in a process of teshuvah with the beginning of the next new moon, the month of Elul, whose name is an acronym. Actually, most of the Jewish names of months come from from Babylonian gods, right? We're in the month of Tammuz right now. It means Greek, it's a goat. But the month of Elul is an acronym for Eli Lidodi V'Dodi Li. I am my beloved and my beloved is mine, from Song of Songs. So as we do this process of teshuvah, we are held in great love and not fear of screwing up. So I do a lot of weddings. This year has exploded in weddings. I don't know what's happening. People are still getting married. I think it's wonderful. And there's a sacred moment when, you all know what a way, people make vows, right, in the presence of others. And have you ever wondered about that? What is this thing about vows? And why do you have to make them in the presence of others? I tell the people who are the guests that this is not a passive experience, that they themselves are an active participant in the vow, because they are the witnesses to the vow. And in Jewish law, if there are no witnesses, there is no vow. I also somewhat humorously say that if the people who I am marrying ever forget what they said to each other, all of you will remember and you can remind them what they are promising. But a vow must be taken in the presence of others. So what is the vow? And is it the same as an oath? This is what can drive you crazy. Simply put, a vow involves the using of the name of God. Oaths do not. I promise to bring you a cheesecake is more like an oath. But I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help me God, will result in perjury charges if you do not tell the truth. You're invoking the name of God. Jews have always been incredibly hesitant to make vows because it's such a serious infraction if you break the vow. And where I'm headed to is a little commentary on this week's Torah portion. During high holidays, during Kol Nidre, which Ruach HaMakom will be celebrating at Rock Point this year. It's happening on a Shabbos, and we've rented the whole camp. I'm very excited about that. The service of Kol Nidre that's recited at the outset of Yom Kippur and is arguably the most recognizable piece of Jewish liturgy teaches us that words have power. This most sacred and powerful and iconic service of the Jewish year revolves around nothing less than the sheer majesty of the spoken word. In fact, Kol Nidre is not a prayer. It's actually a legal contract. It's two witnesses holding the Torah scrolls to make sure that it's really a serious moment. As the person is usually often me, but whoever is chanting the text, 3 times it's chanted. The words are not even Hebrew, they're Aramaic. And it's important because that was the language that people spoke. Hebrew was reserved for prayer and for legal contracts, right? Why do we do this? Why are we, and so the prayer itself is all vows and things we have made forbidden on ourselves, blah, 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 blah. Any vow I have made this past year, and any vow that I am going to make in the next year, please let me off the hook. So how does that jive with what I just told you? So where does this come from? Scholars are not quite sure when the Kol Nidre prayer, Kol Nidre means all vows, was composed, but we know it really took intense effect during the Spanish Inquisition, when on pain of death, Jews were made to convert to Catholicism. And so they would make a vow to become Catholic. That was problematic, as you can well imagine. They were saving your life. You're allowed to do that to save your life. But once a year, the Jews would kind of go into hiding a little bit and say to God, God, you remember that vow I made to become Catholic? I did it to save my life. And you know the vow I might have to take in this following year to become Catholic, to save my life? Just ignore it. The power of words is so profound that, all of you know your Bible in one way or another, right? In the beginning, God spoke and the world came into being. Baruch she'amar v'haya ha'olam baruch hu. God spoke and the world came into being. King James Version does, in the beginning there was the word. That's not what the Hebrew says, but that's how they decided that the majesty of that was profound. God spoke the earth, the land, the skies, the birds, the vegetation, the light, the darkness, and then, of course, human beings. And so words have a very, very strong effect. So why am I telling you this? In this week's Torah portion, Matot Masai, it's got all kinds of problems. We're in the book of Numbers. The book of Numbers is like that, the suitcase that you're packing right before you get on the airplane and you want to make sure you've got everything, right? So they stuff all kinds of stuff into the book of Numbers. The book of Deuteronomy is a later text. It wasn't written by the same authors. But the book of Numbers is really what's going on after the mixed multitude had left Egypt. And we read in the text this profound thing. It's all about vows. And Moses spoke, again, speaking, always talking, to the tribal heads. And it says, if a man makes a vow to God or makes an oath to obligate himself, he must not break his word. Okay, fairly simple, right? He must do all that he expressed verbally. But here's the kicker. If a woman makes a vow to God or binds herself by an obligation while still unmarried, her father has to respect the vow. Unless he hears about it in 1 day's time, he has exactly 24 hours to say, sorry, honey, you can't take that vow. If 24 hours, this is all rabbinic commentary, 24 hours passes, sorry, Dad, I made the vow, I'm keeping it. And then it goes on to say, if she makes a vow and her husband learns about it, he also cannot say you can't fulfill your vow. And so it is the law that a woman can make a vow and it holds steady. This is amazing. The chapter begins with the statement that a man's vows and oaths must be kept, but the whole rest of this little section is all about the vows of women. And that, while we may deplore that men still had a control over whether women could carry on vows, and usually the vows were, I'm going to go into a more deeper spiritual practice for a little while, and then I'll come back out. It is vastly important that we understand that our words have power, that, as we all know, words hurt, words matter. We learn in Deuteronomy, when you make a vow, do not put off fulfilling it. Hurry up, like do it and then get going. Whereas if you don't make a vow, you don't have to fulfill it. But if you make a vow, you got to do it. You must perform what has crossed your lips and performed what you have vowed to do voluntarily, having made the promises with your own mouth. So I'm here to just emphasize that this week's Torah portion of Matot Masai is deeply caring about what comes out of your mouth. Because we create worlds with what comes out of our mouths. And each one of us has agency when we make a promise, when we make a vow, especially if we are inviting the power of the cosmos into that vow. So what kind of vows might we be making these days? Well, of course, a wedding is a vow. That's very nice. But there's a deeper vow, I think, and that is the vow to afford people the right to love. So I'm reading this not very thick book. It's brand new. Judaism is About Love by one of my teachers, Shai Held. He's an amazing professor down in New York, and you can catch his YouTube interviews on this. And here's what he teaches us. And this is how it relates to vows. He says there's 3, and then, of course, in the very Jewish way, says, well, but maybe there's 5. Okay. So there's 3 or 5 commandments to love in the Hebrew Bible. We're charged to love our neighbor, to love the stranger, in other words, someone who lives amongst us but who's not necessarily Jewish, and to love. He uses the word God. I'm always a little allergic to the word God. So we are required to love, be in love with being alive and all of creation that joins us. And then we are required to love all human beings because, as I said in the beginning, all human beings are made in the image of God, right? B'tselmo Elohim. And the final commandment that Jews are commanded is to respond to people's suffering. When I am commanded to respond to people's suffering, I can't ignore it. And I am commanded to love those who live amongst us who are not from our tradition. It is deeply not true, the Christian way of setting what the Hebrew Bible is, is that it's all about laws and a harsh God, and Christianity is all about love. It's not true. That was a polemic that was developed by the Catholic Church in the 1200s. It is deeply, deeply true that we are commanded to love. And a vow of love to say, I dedicate my life to alleviating suffering wherever I can, has two effects. One, I got to do something. I can't just sit around. But it also sensitizes me in a way that I can't be shut off from the suffering of the world. And so a vow is never about closing in on oneself to ignore others. A vow is always about opening ourselves open so that we see how others are and act accordingly to see if I can alleviate suffering. Now, it's not always possible, right? And these days, there's a lot of issues about, do I see somebody else's suffering? What can I do? What's going on? Israel, Palestine, oi, 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 oi. It's horrendous. And at the core of how I experience that horrendousness are these commandments to love, to be aware of other people's suffering and do what I can to alleviate that suffering, to represent to take care of the orphans, the widows, the strangers, the poor, the unhoused, whoever is in need. It is my job, it is our job to pay attention to that. So on this morning we're in the middle of the month of Tammuz. We are getting ready in the Jewish calendar to observe the hardest day of the year. And so for any of you who know Jewish people, this time of year is very difficult. In the Middle East or in any desert culture right now, it's so hot and so dry and you are so close to death because you have no idea whether the rains are going to come, right, in the fall. You may die. And during the next month of Av, we allow ourselves into the valley of despair by remembering the destruction of the temple. The holiday is only known by its date, the 9th of Av. And it is observed by reading the book of Lamentations, which is an actually really interesting book because it says we were the fault. It was our fault that the temple was destroyed. Not a historical representation of what happened, but it's an interesting perspective that somehow we had something to do with our own destruction. We won't go into that right now. But here's what's important about the 9th of Av. It's this welcoming in of despair, of lament, of the woe is me, which is so important for human beings to allow themselves to experience despair. But the moving sidewalk of the Jewish calendar, 4 days later, you get to Tu B'Av, the 15th of Av, which is the Jewish Valentine's Day. So the moving sidewalk of the Jewish calendar requires that you feel despair. And then 4 days later begins to lift you up in a day of love. And so I want to invite you to say the word love in Hebrew with me 3 times, and then we'll chant again. So the word for love in Hebrew is ahava. You know, see what just happened there? So here's how we're going to do it. We'll do it 3 times. Ah. Ah. Ha. Ha. Just feel yourself die. Va. Va. Let's do it again. Ah. Ha. Va. One more time. Ah. Ha. Va. 3 syllables that carry with it the deepest command to love. May we all be blessed with those 3 syllables, forevermore. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. Again. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within.
Thank you for joining us here today. I should have also mentioned that the synagogue meets here, upstairs on Friday evenings.
The 2nd and 4th Friday nights, and you're all welcome to come.
So, with that, please join me in the words of our chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with the world until we are together again.
The benediction. Every Friday night, it is the practice to bless our children, to bless them with protection from harm. And so I thought I would share with you this as the benediction. Hamalach hagoel oti bekorah, yivarech et ha-na'arim. Hamalach hagoel oti mehira, et ha-na'araim. May the angel who keeps me from harm bless the ones who come after. This is from the deathbed scene of Jacob. May the angels who keep me from harm bless the ones who come after. May you all be blessed with many more afters, many more breaths, many more sunrises, many more opportunities to gather. And when you do go to sleep at night, Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, may a sukkah of peace, of wholeness, hold you in safety while you sleep, so you don't have any bad dreams, so nobody knocks on your window, any of those icky things, right? So that when you get a good night's sleep, because we all know that a good night's sleep would probably cure every ailment of the planet. So may you all be blessed with really good night's sleep, with wholeness, and with ahava. I don't know what we do now. That's it. I guess. See you for, oh yes,
Thank you.
for treats out in the foyer.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Should we play some music or something, or
We
what?
can do a chant.
Okay, we can do a chant. Where is it? Whatever. You guys know what to do.
If you want to.
Yeah. You can turn this on. This, by the way, I know y'all are wondering, it's a Shruti box, S-H-R-U-T-I. It's used in Hindu devotional chanting, kirtan chanting, right? Call and response. And I say this very facetiously, but it's deeply true. Jews are the masters of cultural appropriation. In the best way, like whatever throughout the centuries, like the eons, the 3,000 years, if we liked music that everybody else was singing, we would just adopt it into our prayers, right? Because it worked. So this is used in kirtan style Jewish chant. So I'll see you out there. There you go. Moda'ani lefanecha ruach hai v'kayam. Moda'ani lefanecha ruach hai v'kayam. Moda'ani lefanecha. Moda'ani lefanecha. Moda'ani lefanecha ruach hai. This is your recessional music. Moda'ani lefanecha ruach hai v'kayam. Moda'ani lefanecha. Moda'ani lefanecha. Good morning, good morning, good morning.